everyone, and welcome back to Miss Campbell's art class. Let's open up our sketchbooks to a new page. Drawing lesson number 3 will help us work toward drawing in line through the creation of our very first still life. The materials you need today are paper, pencils, markers or crayons, 5 solid color items that you would like to draw, and your sketchbook. The items I've chosen for today's still life are an onion, garlic, a teacup, an empty bottle, and a roll of string. For the first step on getting ready for our still life, I want you to take your solid color items and arrange them in front of you, just like I did on my table here. Try to arrange them in a unique way that looks fun for you to draw, however looks good to you. Step 2. Turn to a blank page in your sketchbook. Then, turn your sketchbook sideways so that it's in a landscape position. Perfect. Now, we are going to take a straight edge and draw a box to represent our frame. Label this as still life number 1 and leave some room down at the bottom for note-taking. Before we start our still life, let's explore a few new subjects. What is a still life? A still life is a work of art that depicts mostly inanimate objects. Still lifes include all kinds of man-made or natural objects. These can include cut flowers, fruit, vegetables, fish, food, and so on. A still life can be a celebration of your favorite things or sometimes even depicts a theme of how a person should look at the life around them. The next thing that I would like to take a look at is, what exactly is a line? A line in drawing is an element of art defined by a point moving in space. Do you remember when you were a little kid scribbling with your first set of crayons? Those scribbles were lines. Lines can be vertical, horizontal, diagonal, or curved. They can be any width or texture, and they can be continuous, which means they go on and on and on. And they can also be implied, which means that even though there isn't a line that is obviously there, your mind imagines it being there. So, why are lines important? Lines are important because they can lead people who look at your art to see or feel different things. It can also change the energy of your painting or drawing. For example, using a bunch of different lines in one piece can cause the artwork to have different energy levels, like high energy or low energy levels, or it can create a dramatic emotion. Using many different kinds of lines or a variation of line can cause people's eyes to travel around your artwork for longer amounts of time. Finally, I would like to explore what contrast is. Contrast is a difference in art elements. For example, you can have contrast in value, whether it be a light color versus a dark color, like white versus black, like how our artwork is going to look today. You can also find contrast in colors, such as complementary colors, for example, red versus green, or purple versus yellow. You can find contrast in texture, like smooth versus rough, and so on. Playing with contrast is a very important thing in making art because it can also contribute to the energy or the mood of your piece. Okay, now that we know some basics, let's get started with our drawing. Today I've chosen charcoal for my first drawing. It is really messy, but I like the lines and the texture variation that I can create with it. Looking back to our previous lessons, I'm going to look for shapes that I recognize and that I know that are easy for me to draw. So, I've decided to start with the onion. That will help me with the scale of the rest of my objects. Scale means how big or how small the other objects are in comparison to my first object. Then we are going to look around for negative and positive shapes. Remember, look, draw, look, draw. With your eyes, go back and forth between the object you are currently drawing and the paper before you. Continue going, even if it doesn't look perfect. Just keep drawing. We are going to be drawing these items a few times today in order to get the objects looking more realistic on our paper. As you move from shape to shape, look for little details that might be hiding in plain sight. We are going to be drawing our items a few times today in different ways in order to continue training our eyes. All right, everyone, we are going to be moving on to our second still life for today. We are going to take the same items we used before and rearrange them. Make sure you draw another frame with space at the bottom and label it as still life number 2. Leave a space for notes down at the bottom. And really think about what you liked about your last drawing versus what you disliked. I'm going to start with the onion again because I think I have that shape down, and I think that last time it really helped me figure out the scale for the rest of my items. In future drawings, we are going to switch our process up a bit and move back and forth between what items we draw first. But today, I want to get back into the motions of drawing, so I'm keeping it a little easier on myself. I followed the onion in this garlic with the teacup, which is really close to the onion, then the garlic, then the glass bottle, and finally the string. What shapes are you seeing as we draw? What are some negative shapes you are seeing? Okay, now that we've finished our second still life, let's do a mini critique in our head. I want you to be really honest with yourself before we move on to our third drawing. But remember, be kind to yourself too, since we are still a beginner in drawing. I want you to question, what did I like about this piece? What did I dislike, or what really frustrated me? Do I like the layout of my still life better than the last one? Or do I like this layout better? What are some things I would like to improve upon next time? Okay, I know that this is getting a little bit repetitive, but I'm asking you to keep repeating this exercise because if you do, you will start seeing improvements in your drawings by redrawing the same things over and over again. Turn to a new page and create the layout for your third still life. Back when I was taking classes, we would often have to draw the same items over and over again for a good 3 hours straight. Sometimes in my classes, we would even come back to these items in the next class and then have to sit for an additional 3 hours redrawing the same things over and over again. It could be really boring, but you see a really good amount of improvement if you do stuff like this. I think a really cool exercise you might want to try sometime is get an item and a timer and try drawing the objects in a time span of 30 seconds for about 4 different times. Then, take that same item and draw it again with a 1-minute timer set. Do this for about 2 times. Then you can do it again for a time span of 5 minutes and then do it again for 10 minutes. Then, finally draw it one last time without giving yourself a time limit. You can do this drawing game with objects, photos of animals, or you could even do it with people that you have in your household. When you do it with people, you can have the person sit still for you while you draw. For this drawing, I've decided to start out with a light, rough sketch, which I'm going to outline and fill in with bolder lines later. My movement is a little faster and I have more confidence in my drawing. This is because I've already spent some time trying to get everything figured out with the previous drawings. Something I really didn't like about my last drawing was the line work with the warp string. So this time, I'm really going to try and pay attention to the direction the string is going in, instead of just imagining it with my mind. For this drawing, I've chosen to use a china marker, which was originally used to write on fine china or porcelain. I think the way you can describe it is like if you take a crayon and put it in the form of a colored pencil. Another thing I've chosen to do is crop into my items. I wanted to zoom in on the textures that I'm creating with my line work. Getting tired yet? This is going to be our last drawing. For our final drawing, I want you to fill up the entire blank piece of paper. No need to draw in a frame. I've chosen to use multiple types of materials to create my artwork. So I've brought out my china marker, my regular markers, my charcoal, and a micron. A micron is a marker often used in illustration. The micron I have today has a very tiny tip, so it is great for detailing. Okay, everyone. As we finish up, I want you to know how proud I am of all of you. This time period we are going through is really rough. But you are doing such a great job on continuing your education and finding ways to fill your time. We are getting through this. For my students, I wanted to let you know how I miss you all incredibly. I had such a fun time hanging out with you in art class. And I think we had a pretty cool thing going on. You all had such wonderful imaginations last time I saw you. Don't lose it. And don't forget, with all those boxes your parents are getting in the mail and some of the recycled items you have, you can create some pretty incredible things this summer. Anyway, I hope you are all doing well, and I hope you are looking forward to your summer vacation. I miss you all so, so much. I hope to see you soon. Miss Campbell. Challenge yourself. Create 3 different still lifes out of items you found around your house. Use at least 5 different items for your drawing. I recommend that you use mostly solid items that are all the same color, just like I did in my video. Arrange these items differently for each drawing and then create your still life using different kinds of lines.